I think having spoken to Dr. Tedros for many months now, I think the world should be incredibly grateful for what Jordan is doing and the moral leadership. So I think yes, everything that I've heard and everything that I've seen, especially from World Central Kitchen, what we heard this morning on the live.
The eyes of the world have turned to Jordan, where the Duke and Duchess of Sussex have embarked on what critics are calling their latest pretend royal tours. Arriving with cameras in tow, Harry and Meghan visited refugee camps, hospitals, and local community centers, every stop meticulously photographed and widely circulated. The World Health Organization.
People did not want him answering questions about Israel. The Prince did not want to answer questions about his uncle, Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor, and his relationship with Jeffrey.
Often described in some circles as China's favored health organization, facilitated parts of this visit, giving the appearance of official legitimacy. Yet, behind the curated images and carefully staged moments, questions swirl over the purpose and propriety of the Sussex's journey. Observers note that Jordan holds deep personal significance for the Prince and Princess of Wales.
The world has spoken many, many times. So I think, yes, everything that I've heard and everything that I've seen, especially from World.
William and Kate. Kate spent part of her childhood in the country, and the royal couple has frequently returned for both official and private visits. Their connection to Jordan is long-standing, personal, and recognized diplomatically. By contrast, Harry and Meghan's sudden presence, reportedly uninvited by local authorities, has raised eyebrows. Sources indicate that the Jordanian royal family declined to meet the reflecting both loyalty to William and Kate and a desire to maintain distance from what some officials consider an unofficial, headline-seeking endeavor. Royal biographer Angela Levin describes the Sussex's approach as obsessed with visibility and image. According to Levin, Meghan's frequent costume changes, orchestrated photo moments, and constant media engagement suggest that the visit was as much about personal publicity as any charitable intent. These trips are less about diplomacy or philanthropy, Levin notes, and more about crafting a narrative, creating imagery, and generating attention. The British Foreign Office has reportedly expressed its disapproval of the visit, emphasizing that Harry and Meghan, as private citizens, do not represent the United Kingdom. Former Tory minister Tim Etton described their attendance at official events, including a British embassy function during Ramadan, as entirely inappropriate. The Sussex's presence, he explained, gave the misleading impression of official endorsement, a notion quickly corrected by diplomatic staff. The distinction between private attendance and formal representation, critics argue, was blurred, leaving local hosts and international observers to question the intent behind the appearances. Beyond optics, controversy surrounds the couple's reported interactions with groups that have previously drawn scrutiny, including allegations of contact with Hamas-affiliated individuals during the tour. While details remain unverified, such associations heighten concerns over the diplomatic sensitivity of their actions. Experts argue that even unintentional missteps can carry implications for broader UK-Jordan relations and for the reputation of the royal family. Financial scrutiny also follows. Questions persist about how travel, accommodations, and security were funded, with speculation around contributions from the Archewell Foundation. The charity, rebranded in recent years, has faced criticism in the past for transparency regarding expenditures. Observers question whether donor contributions were used for international travel and luxury accommodations, highlighting a tension between philanthropic intent and personal benefit. In essence, the Jordan visit reflects a complex interplay of personal ambition, media strategy, and public perception. While the Sussex's activities are legally permissible, analysts argue that the optics of the tour, combined with their high-profile interactions, make it a contentious episode. Critics say the trip underscores a growing divergence between the private ambitions of Harry and Meghan and the formal responsibilities and legacy of the British royal family. Following the initial headlines from Jordan, the broader context of the Sussex's tour has begun to emerge. Analysts and royal correspondents alike note that the timing and locations of their appearances appear carefully calculated. 2 weeks prior, William and Kate were engaged in official visits across the Middle East, including stops in Saudi Arabia and Jordan, highlighting the contrast between formally sanctioned tours and the Sussex's independent itinerary. Observers argue that this timing so close to William and Kate's visits raises questions about intent, suggesting a desire to capitalize on regions already in the spotlight. Angela Levin, a well-known royal biographer, emphasizes that the Sussex's actions are increasingly viewed through the lens of media strategy rather than diplomacy. Every move seems choreographed for photographs, for press releases, for social media traction. Levin says, it's a narrative about visibility, not responsibility. From multiple outfit changes to staged interactions with children in refugee camps, the couple's behavior has been described as performative. Critics argue that the focus on image risks overshadowing the substantive needs of the communities they visit, turning humanitarian sites into backdrops for personal branding. Diplomatic circles have quietly expressed concern over the potential fallout from such trips, while the Jordanian royal family and the British Foreign Office have maintained official distance. The mere presence of the Sussexes in politically sensitive locations carries implications. Reports suggest that some officials were unsettled by their unscheduled appearances at embassy-hosted events, which were intended for local dignitaries and community leaders. By attending without formal invitation, the Sussexes inadvertently complicated the management of protocol, creating confusion among hosts and observers alike. Financial transparency is another area drawing scrutiny. Travel, accommodation, and security costs for international tours can be substantial, and questions remain about how these expenses were covered. The Archewell Foundation, which the couple uses to fund some philanthropic activities, has faced prior criticism over spending and reporting practices. Donors and watchdogs have raised concerns about whether contributions are directed toward charitable objectives or personal travel, highlighting a persistent tension between public expectation and private practice. Public reaction has been equally polarized. Supporters argue that the Sussexes are leveraging their platform to shed light on urgent humanitarian issues, from refugee conditions to healthcare access. Yet detractors contend that the appearances prioritize optics over outcomes, noting that photo opportunities and media coverage often dominate the narrative. Social media response underscores this divide, with posts ranging from praise for the couple's attention to pressing issues, to criticism over perceived self-promotion and misrepresentation. Security considerations also factor into the equation. The presence of high-profile figures in sensitive regions necessitates extensive protective measures. Reports indicate that security arrangements were extensive, involving both private teams and local coordination. While necessary, these measures underscore the logistical and diplomatic complexities introduced by private visits of globally recognized figures, particularly when they intersect with formal diplomatic activities. Ultimately, the Jordan tour illustrates the intersection of private ambition, media influence, and public expectation. It highlights the challenges faced by individuals who occupy prominent social roles but operate outside formal structures. The Sussexes' actions have sparked debate not only about protocol and propriety, but also about the evolving role of modern royal figures in a media-saturated world. As the dust settles from the headlines of the Jordan tour, questions are intensifying about the broader implications of the Sussexes' activities abroad. Observers across diplomatic, journalistic, and royal circles are asking the same question. What do these private excursions achieve, and at what cost? While public appearances are often framed as humanitarian gestures, the pattern of activity suggests a meticulous media strategy designed to maximize visibility rather than impact. Analysts note that the sequence of visits to Colombia and now Jordan coincides with regions where high-profile members of the British royal family have previously traveled. William and Kate's tours are carefully coordinated with foreign governments and host organizations, reflecting a blend of ceremonial duty, diplomatic protocol, and charity work. By contrast, the Sussexes' trips appear opportunistic, raising concerns about their effect on official diplomatic relationships. In Jordan, for instance, the royal family declined to meet them, signaling a subtle but pointed rebuke. Local sources suggest this decision reflects both loyalty to William and Kate and apprehension about inadvertently validating unsanctioned appearances. Royal commentator Angela Levin underscores the performative nature of these engagements. The Sussexes' trips are as much about narrative control as they are about any social impact, she explains. From multiple outfit changes to carefully staged photographs, the emphasis is clearly on optics. While the images generate media coverage, they often overshadow the substantive issues at hand. Critics point to the recurring motif of staged photo opportunities with children, refugee families, and local leaders, highlighting the tension between visibility and genuine engagement.
Validates these organizations that are involved in terrorist activities by his mere presence, and that, I think, shows a connection then to the
Financial scrutiny continues to mount. Questions surrounding the funding of these trips have intensified, particularly regarding the Archewell Foundation and related entities. Donors and charity observers expressed concern about whether contributions are genuinely directed toward the communities featured in these visits or if a significant portion supports travel, accommodations, and security for high-profile media events. First-class flights, luxury hotels, and specialized security protocols indicate that the logistical footprint is substantial. While these arrangements are necessary to ensure safety, the optics of private citizens undertaking such tours, financed indirectly through charitable organizations, have sparked debate about ethical responsibility. Social media reaction has been fiercely divided. Supporters argue that the Sussexes draw attention to neglected crises and amplify humanitarian narratives that might otherwise be overlooked. Yet detractors contend that the focus remains squarely on the couple's personal branding. The dichotomy is evident. While photographs and social media posts circulate widely, detailed reporting on long-term impact or follow-up initiatives is often absent. In essence, critics argue, the tours may illuminate problems momentarily but offer little tangible or sustained solution. Diplomatic insiders have also expressed concern about protocol breaches, the attendance of the Sussexes at events organized by the British Embassy in Jordan was deemed inappropriate by officials. Despite their global recognition, such appearances, unsanctioned and uncoordinated, risk undermining formal relationships between the UK and host nations. While no formal rebuke was issued, the subtext is clear. Private interventions of this nature, regardless of intent, create tension and potential reputational damage. Furthermore, security challenges compound the complexity of these tours. The presence of internationally recognized figures in politically sensitive regions requires significant coordination. Private security teams, local law enforcement, and embassy personnel are often engaged to manage risks, creating logistical burdens and amplifying costs. While safety is paramount, the additional operational strain on host institutions underscores the broader implications of unsanctioned travel. Ultimately, the Jordan Tehran series of international appearances preceding it illustrates the precarious balance between personal initiative and public responsibility for high-profile figures. The Sussexes' actions demonstrate the power of media and celebrity influence, but they also highlight the constraints imposed by diplomatic protocol, ethical fundraising, and public scrutiny. In a world where every photograph and social media post is instantly circulated globally, the stakes for misstep are exponentially higher as the conversation continues. It is clear that these tours will remain a polarizing topic. They raise enduring questions about the evolving role of modern royals, the influence of private initiatives on public perception, and the boundaries between visibility and responsibility in an era dominated by global media attention. Observers and analysts alike will continue to monitor the outcomes of these excursions, not only for their immediate impact but for their lasting effect on the reputation and credibility of the individuals involved. As the spotlight shifts from Jordan back to London, the broader consequences of the Sussexes' tours are coming into sharper focus. Observers note that these appearances, though high-profile, carry risks far beyond media headlines. While each photograph and social media post generates immediate attention, the long-term implications, diplomatic, financial, and reputational are far less visible, yet potentially far more significant. Royal analysts emphasize that unsanctioned trips such as these create a delicate tension between personal initiative and institutional responsibility. By stepping into roles traditionally reserved for active members of the monarchy, private individuals, regardless of public interest, inadvertently challenge established protocol. Diplomatic sources suggest that host nations must navigate a careful balance, acknowledging globally recognized figures while preserving the integrity of official engagements. In Jordan, the refusal of the royal family to meet the Sussexes was a subtle but unmistakable message. Protocol cannot be bypassed. Even for celebrities with royal connections, financial scrutiny continues to shadow these excursions. The role of the Archewell Foundation and associated entities has been questioned, particularly regarding how donor funds are allocated. While charitable giving remains essential for humanitarian initiatives, critics argue that expenditures on first-class travel, luxury accommodations, and high-security operations risk overshadowing the intended purpose of philanthropy. Even supporters acknowledge that transparency and accountability are critical if private initiatives are to maintain credibility and public trust. The media reaction has been equally complex. Coverage of the Jordan tour was extensive, yet discussions frequently focused more on appearances, wardrobe, and staged moments than substantive outcomes. Analysts highlight a recurring pattern. Short-term visibility is achieved at the expense of sustained, measurable impact. Photographs of the Sussexes with children or community leaders generate empathy, but follow-up initiatives or evidence of lasting engagement are often lacking. This raises important questions about the role of visibility versus tangible outcomes in modern philanthropy and public service. Security challenges compound these concerns. Deploying private security, coordinating with local law enforcement, and managing the logistics of travel in politically sensitive regions imposes a significant burden on host nations and organizations. The operational footprint of such tours is substantial, and any misstep, whether in timing, protocol, or safety, could have far-reaching repercussions. Observers note that these considerations are not just administrative but strategic, influencing diplomatic relationships and public perception alike. Despite controversy, supporters argue that the Sussexes bring attention to crises that might otherwise go unnoticed. Advocates suggest that media coverage, even if partly performative, helps amplify humanitarian issues. Yet critics counter that the emphasis remains on personal branding, with systemic solutions or long-term engagement often secondary. This tension underscores the complexity of modern public figures operating at the intersection of celebrity, philanthropy, and diplomacy. Ultimately, the Jordan tour and preceding excursions reflect the evolving challenges facing modern royalty in a hypervisible, media-driven world. They highlight the opportunities and risks inherent when private initiative intersects with public responsibility. The Sussexes' actions demonstrate the power of media influence, but also the scrutiny and accountability that accompany it. As analysts, diplomats, and the public digests the implications. One conclusion is clear. The line between personal ambition and public duty is increasingly blurred. The lasting impact of these tours will be measured not only by immediate headlines, but by how they shape perceptions, influenced relationships, and informed the broader discourse about the role of modern royals in global humanitarian efforts.